Hey, we're live here with Kathleen Cannino, school board candidate for District 2 in St. Tammany Parish. I'm Jonathan. You've probably seen me, but today we're going to talk with Kathleen and see why she's running for school board, what's she all about, and hear a little bit about her story. So, Kathleen, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. This is some strange weather. I heard it's supposed to be very cold tonight. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but hopefully it's nice.
So I want to ask you, why did you decide to run for school board?
Well, about 4 years ago, my son started pre-K here in St. Tammany, and him and his classmates had a really bad time, difficult experience. And after that, I started advocating for children in the schools, as well as my son. And through advocating, and attending board meetings, the things that I personally experienced and witnessed for families and for children, there's a lot of obstacles. There's a lack of transparency to get the truth out of anybody. Well, not anybody, but in certain situations for those parents, especially in special ed, they have a lot of difficulties that they face. And I've gone all the way up to Bessie and the Louisiana Department of Education, trying to find out who is responsible for, making sure things work the way that they're supposed to work. And they've all pointed me back to the local school board. And so through attending our own board meetings, and people trying to speak, trying to get things done, asking for the right thing to be done, policies, it's like hitting a brick wall, honestly. I feel like I can't complain unless I'm willing to fix it. So I decided I wanted to try and fix it.
Yeah, a lot of people say it's very difficult dealing with administration when problems happen with kids and parents want to figure out what happened, why it happened, and what can be done to fix the problem. A lot of people say they hit brick walls. They don't get responses when they try to approach the principals, administrators, or even the superintendent. It's just like this cycle of nonsense. And then they have to go speak at a school board meeting, and then that avails usually nothing. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Do you think there's open communication right now with the school board and the public?
Some of the board members will, write you back if you write them or try to ask. But a lot of the time when I write myself, I get nothing back.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of people have the same experience.
Yep. So I have a couple of questions I want to ask you that are related to the St. Tammany school system. One of them that I dealt with when I was a teacher. So I used to be a public school teacher. I was starting to love my job, and then I got completely wiped out of it because politics are in the schools. What are your thoughts on politics in the classroom? And what I mean by that is teachers that are supposed to be teaching English, math, or science, but instead they're using their time to promote whatever ideas they believe that aren't related to actual academics. What are your thoughts on that?
That doesn't belong in the schools. I think that is conversation for outside of schools to have with parents or, something like that. But there's too much, just like and if you're at work, you don't discuss politics and personal things. Same thing at school. Keep it focused on the education, focused on the kids, and getting back to just the basics. Politics is too much of an explosive topic, and it doesn't need to be in the schools.
So you think it's
just a little?
Yeah. It's do you think, are you aware of politics being in the St. Tammany Parish school system in the classrooms? Have you heard anything about it? Do you think it's real?
From time to time, I do hear, teacher. It's not every teacher, but I have heard that there are certain teachers that say certain things. Actually, I went to school here growing up, and I do remember one teacher.
There's always that crazy
in junior high, and she said some stuff, and I still remember to this day. So it does have an impact on the kids. And I do know that there has been certain situations and certain teachers where it's not been appropriate. So,
Yeah,
but I don't think it's every teacher.
it's not. I mean, I was a teacher. I wasn't doing it. I was just talking about it and saying it needs to stop, and that was too much. That was way too much for the admin. So there's something that happened with the federal government. They threatened, and of course it's
Title IX.
Yeah, and it's not. I don't think it's going to happen. But they threatened basically to take away free lunch for poor students, low income students, unless the schools let boys in the girls' bathroom and girls in the boys' bathroom and sharing the locker rooms and all that type of stuff. What would you do if the Fed came up with that again and said, hey, we're going to withhold money from you over this? Are you going to be somebody that just says, let's just go with the Fed? Or is that something that you think shouldn't happen?
I think there's always a solution. I don't think boys or girls, need to have co-ed bathroom. I think that's a bad idea. If there's something to that effect, I think having a single-use bathroom that is just for one person at a time, for those kids, there's a way to find solutions that doesn't put other children in jeopardy and doesn't make the parents feel uncomfortable. I never at any point want to have a kid feel like they're being targeted, bullied, or, ostracized, but there are things that you should or shouldn't do. And I just don't think girls in the boys' bathroom or vice versa is a good idea. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. That's a big topic. Extremely huge topic that people want to know about. If you're watching this, if you see this, please like and share it. We want as many people to hear this conversation as possible, because this is election season and we want to get good people, the best people in the spots, and some people need to be known. So the next thing I want to ask about is the teaching environment. So we have, the dynamic for the kids. You want a safe environment for kids, but you also want to have a good environment for the teachers, because we're seeing teachers don't even want to be there. They hate their jobs. They leave. They go change professions. What are some things you've thought about, or I don't know what your specifics are on what you want to focus on as a school board member, but what do you think about the environment for teachers and other staff like bus drivers and custodians and lunch workers?
The environment, I speak to a lot of teachers because I'm in IEPs a lot. And the work environment I hear is very toxic right now. And if we want to improve things for our kids, we have to improve things for the teachers. We need the good teachers to stay. That is one thing I'm very passionate about, is changing the work environment, because there's an amazing teacher that I talk to occasionally who is in St. Tammany right now. And she told me she's going to put in an early retirement because she just can't take it anymore. And this teacher, it would be a great loss for St. Tammany. And then I've seen other teachers who have left for lower paying jobs just because of the environment. So if we want to attract and retain the teachers that we have and the good teachers, we have to address that. That has to be the top of the list, because if we want our kids to do well, we need our teachers to do well. Yeah.
No, I know plenty of teachers, people I work with. They were ready to get out of there as soon as possible, whether it paid the same, less, or more. And it's shocking, because we think there's this teacher shortage. Well, there's people available to do it. The problem is the environment's so toxic. Nobody wants to do it. So that's a very important thing. And that goes for the bus drivers. It goes for the cafeteria people, the custodian. I mean, it's from the top to the bottom. And there's been a lot of growth for administration, but not so much for the other parts of the organization. So I would hope that if you got elected, you check out what's going on with the people, the boots on the ground. They are very important, very important. So this next one is pretty. It's about the pronouns, okay? Because this is another big thing going on. You got teachers that never want to address a kid by, if you have a girl whose name on her birth certificate is Susie, she says, "Hey, teacher, I want you to call me John because I'm a boy now," but the teacher doesn't want to do it. So you have this crazy dynamic. I actually encountered that with a student when I was teaching, And I basically said, what do you want to call yourself? It was like some pronoun thing. And I was like, I'm just going to call you by your name. And we're not doing this pronoun stuff. And the kid thought it was funny. I was like shocked. I made sure it wasn't like bullying the kid. I made sure it was very like informal, but at the same time, like, no, your name is definitely Susie Q. It's I'm going to call you Susie Q. All right. We're just going to leave it at that. I'm not doing nothing else. So what do you think about the kids that want to be called by the pronouns, and even these teachers that are putting out, because this was found at Mandeville. I don't know what exactly schools that you would be over, but St. Tammany's, the whole parish. At Mandeville High School, they had a teacher putting on paper, what pronouns do you want me to call you? And do you want to hide this from your parents? When I talk to your parents, do I refer to you by your actual name or your name that you have with us? What do you think about teachers doing that type of stuff and this dynamic that we're seeing that's actually taking place in our schools?
I don't like that. I don't think anything should be, kept from the parents. And I was thinking about the name, and because I do have a friend who has a child who wanted to be called a different name, and how upset it made that child when the teacher just refused. And so I was thinking about it, and I was thinking maybe there could be a policy that allowed a child to go by a nickname. So if they had a name that they preferred, they would have to have their parents fill out the form and submit that to the school, or however, they want to do it, but something more formal. So it's not like a child changing their name every week.
Yeah, because sometimes kids, honestly, they watch a video on TikTok. One day they want to be this, and then they see another video and they want to be something else. And it's like, there has to be a line drawn. I'm personally, I think the kids need to go see counseling when they want to start changing their identities and all that. That's what I think. Some people think differently, but I like what you said about making sure the parents are aware of this and not hiding things from the parents, because when you got teachers hiding things from parents, that's very strange, in my opinion. You have an adult who's sort of not in your family hiding intimate details about a kid from parents. I mean, that's not a good thing.
No, I don't like that. And I mean, what parent wants, things hidden from them about their own child? But as far as the nickname, like my husband, his name is Josiah, or well, it's Nathan Josiah. When we met, he went by Josiah. So let's say that he was in school and he didn't want to go by that. If he went by his middle name instead, that's still considered, I guess, a nickname. So that's why I was thinking something along that lines. Just that, but have the parents involved and approve of this so that it's something legitimate, not just, I decided today my name is Sarah or something.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting, and I don't know what could happen in the future with this stuff, but we see there's a big push, even from like the president inviting Dylan Mulvaney, a big transgender activist who's encouraging boys to dress like girls and girls to dress like boys.
Yeah, I don't think that needs to happen in the schools. Yeah. I don't think that should be something we need to focus on. I think the education and making sure our kids can read and,
Yeah, that's important. So let's talk about like finance with the school board, because they get a lot of money. They get a ton of money. And you've already been involved in some advocacy work. And I'm sure you've done your own investigations and just snooped around a little bit. But do you think there's mismanagement of money or incompetent use of money? And do we need audits? Like, what do you think about that?
I definitely think that the new board needs to 100% have an audit done, because they are responsible for the budget and they need to know where they stand. We also, I think it would be beneficial to see how we're spending the money and where it could be better spent. And then as far as, I don't know if it's lack of knowledge or lack of oversight, but things are being put into the budget for certain situations that should not be there. And I personally have looked at the IDEA budget, because we get millions for special education. And then those teachers are told they don't have money, but that's not the case. We've had $4 million rolling over for the past 2 or 3 years that hasn't been used. And then when you look at the budget, there's certain things that can be in the budget for special ed.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, there are certain things that shouldn't be on there. Like there was a DJ.
Like an actual DJ for a party playing music.
Well,
Like, boop, boop, boop,
yeah, it was for an event for children with disabilities, but I still don't think that that's an allowed expense. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but there's certain things that could be spent or managed better, I believe. But yeah, I have a lot of questions, and I definitely think the new board should look into that and see where we actually are as far as expenditures and the money we have.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm vaguely familiar with there's certain allowed expenses, and then there's expenses that are not allowed, and the money can only be spent on these specific things. I remember when I first started working, I had to, if I wanted to purchase things for my classroom, there was like an amount of money we could use through the club, the Spanish club, but everything had to be purchased through this one supplier. And so I compared that supplier to other companies, and of course, the supplier that we had to use as the school was the most expensive supplier. I mean, you could set up a business account through Amazon and get the stuff for half the price. I mean, it's just, I think there's some weird stuff going on with the money.
Yeah.
I'm so pro audit, pro figure out the finances and manage it better. And the last thing I kind of want to touch on, which is another really important thing for parents, is like a lot of people are scared that their kids are going to be forced to get vaccinated now that
they included that in the shots.
Yeah. This video is already going to get censored just because I used the word vaccination. The parents are scared that their kids are going to be forced to get vaccinated because they saw what happened when the COVID stuff hit. Their kids were forced to wear masks or get kicked out of school. People like me, I had a mask exemption. I was harassed. I was actually kicked off of campus and fired after I got that's part of my lawsuit. I had an exemption to not wear it, but then they sent me home because they forgot they gave me the exemption, and then they tried to fire me for that. And then they changed their mind what they're firing me for. But lucky for me, all that was recorded on video, and it's some of it's on the internet, some of it's not.
Okay.
But parents are scared because they said the schools forced my kids to wear this mask. Some of them got like acne, some of them got just snotty, nasty noses. What was it? RSV, I think. There was like some sort of respiratory thing got really bad, and then we saw that the mask didn't really help or prevent. I know when it happened, some people, they thought this would help. Some people thought it didn't. Nobody really knew. But I mean, now we kind of know that the government's not always looking out for our best interests. So what are your thoughts on medical freedom for kids and families that attend the public schools when it comes to specifically like the COVID vaccine, or let's say next year there's another virus and the federal government starts telling us we have to do things or else? I mean, do you think we should operate independently based off what the community wants, or do we just bow down to the Fed and do whatever they tell us to do?
For the vaccines and stuff, no. My kids don't have it because my son has a lot of allergies, and we just didn't feel like it was something safe or well, studied yet. And so I would never want to impose that on a parent, a shot that can change their child or harm their child, so no. And I know we currently have exemptions for that because I went and when that passed, I specifically went and looked that up to make sure that wouldn't be forced on a parent. But I think a lot of parents had pushback when they did try to use the medical exemption for the mask. And even though they got doctors filling it out, and I don't think that's right. If they had the medical exemption, it needs to be respected, and or religious exemptions.
Yeah, that was a big one. I remember when I was teaching, they had a lot of kids, so mine's the deviated septum. I already have issues breathing on a regular basis. So when you put the mask on, it just makes it worse, especially over anything over 5-10 minutes of wearing it. You had kids that had the asthma, or they had bad allergies, or they had, deviated septums or whatever. There's all kinds of things. And they just kept rebreathing the air for long periods of time, and it did them bad. And they had doctor's notes, and the school boards basically when I say the school board, most of the board members never saw this. It was really the administrators and principals that this was submitted to. But the medical exemptions were submitted. They were rejected. They were ignored. The kids were harassed by teachers. It was really bad because we saw, at least what I saw, I saw grown adults screaming at the top of their lungs because a kid took their mask down to, sneeze, wipe their nose, cough. It was probably the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. Where it was like one person was more superior than the other. And I never want to see that happen again. I think it was a mess. It was absolutely a mess. And I would want to see kids and teachers and parents respected if they have an exemption for whatever reason, because I mean, that's how it should be.
Well, okay. So about a year ago when they were debating the mask, I actually did a petition for the mask because at the time I thought that was protecting our kids. And to be honest, I don't know what the right choice was. I definitely didn't want children sick, but I spoke to, a few parents more recently and listened to some others. And well, one made a very good point about how if the kids have the mask on, they were like trading them and throwing them on the ground, and
it was nasty. I saw it. I mean, it was nasty.
Yeah, but I saw one lady speak, and what she said and how it like actually affected the kids really made me rethink about it, I guess. And then I kind of thought about the shots, and I would never want anyone telling me that I had to get my son or my daughter the shot. So I think that if that ever came to pass again, that it should be up to the parents, but we have to do other things like the cleaning or whatever it was, if it's something that was really, contagious, whatever, to keep the kids safe, because the kids have to be number one.
Yeah. But, I mean, honestly, starting with cleaning the schools in general, the schools are absolutely filthy most of the time, loaded with germs. So I'm pro clean the schools as much as possible. That was really, really good. A lot of people were concerned specifically, I can understand where you were coming from then, but now that we've had time to look back and see like what was the right choice. I think the right choice from the beginning was to ignore the federal government and raise a lot of suspicion. Because now we see in New York, the New York State Supreme Court, they're reinstating all of the workers that were fired from their jobs for not getting vaccinated. And they actually ruled that the vaccine didn't make a difference one way or the other. And so these people are all getting back pay and their jobs back for, that were fired over this type of stuff. So it's really interesting to see that. But I'm really glad you came on here.
Thank you.
Keep campaigning. We got a week, November 8th.
Yeah.
And, anybody watching, please share this video, write a comment. Kathleen, feel free to share this anywhere it's going to be up. I'm not editing it. I'm just going to, I hit the end of
it's fine.
Forever. So,
okay.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.